Most people start with passion, but they die with regret. Why? Because they never mastered the art of consistency. Today, we solve that fatal flaw by learning how to force yourself to be consistent no matter what. Let me tell you something the world won't say out loud. Your emotions are lying to you every single day. Your feelings will sabotage your future if you don't enslave them to discipline. People talk about being true to their emotions, but what if your emotions are weak? What if they're leading you straight into poverty, regret, and irrelevance? See, you wake up and you don't feel like working out, so you don't. You don't feel like writing that business plan, so you scroll. You don't feel like reading, praying, building, learning, so you entertain yourself to death. That's the sickness of our generation. We wait to feel consistent, but consistency is not an emotion, it is a command. And you either obey it or you die with potential still trapped inside you. I've met men with brilliance, women with ideas, young people with raw, untapped power. And do you know where I saw them all again? On the shores of failure, shipwrecked by their emotions. Emotions that told them, not today, maybe tomorrow. You deserve rest. You've done enough. But kings don't listen to rebels, and that's what your emotions are, rebels. Rebellions against your future. The tragedy is this: people think success is about inspiration. It's not. Success is the child of discipline, and discipline is the sword you raise against your own emotions. Let me ask you a hard question. Who is ruling your life right now? Is it your decisions or your moods? Because if your life is ruled by moods, you are not free. You are a prisoner, locked inside the prison of your own excuses. I've seen gifted people destroy themselves, not because of lack of vision, but because they bowed at the altar of "I don't feel like it today." And day after day, that phrase became a god, a religion of comfort, a ritual of stagnation. Let me remind you, even God himself is a God of order. He doesn't bless chaos. He doesn't multiply laziness. He doesn't reward emotional inconsistency. He blesses systems, obedience, consistent stewardship. And that doesn't come from feeling, it comes from ruling yourself like a king rules his nation. Discipline is the throne, emotion is the servant. But what happens when the servant becomes the king? The whole kingdom collapses. That's why most people live below their calling, because every time discipline says go, their emotions say wait. Every time vision says act, their feelings say it's too early, too late, too risky. But here's the truth the world hates to hear. You are not supposed to trust your emotions, you're supposed to train them. When a soldier enters battle, he doesn't wait until he feels ready. He obeys the command. He doesn't question it. Why? Because his life depends on obedience, and your future, your purpose, your legacy, they all depend on your obedience to your higher self, not your mood in the moment. Let me say this even clearer. If you cannot command yourself, you are not qualified to lead anything. Not a business, not a family, not even your own day. Discipline is not about denying yourself joy. It's about delaying indulgence for a greater reward. It's about saying, I will not let a moment of comfort steal a decade of greatness from me. Some people treat their feelings like sacred truths, but feelings are not sacred, they are signals, and some of those signals are false alarms. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you need rest. It might mean your body is resisting growth. Just because you feel unmotivated doesn't mean you should quit. It might mean your mind is stretching beyond its old limits. That's why wise men rise while fools sleep, because wisdom knows that discipline is the gatekeeper of destiny, and destiny doesn't answer to emotions, it answers to order. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is, I'll do it when I feel ready. You'll never feel ready. You'll never feel perfect, because growth isn't comfortable. It's painful. It's ugly. It's repetitive. And that's exactly why most people avoid it. They would rather feel good than be great. But if you want to lead, to build, to rise above average, you must force yourself, like a general forcing discipline into a chaotic army, like a leader reshaping a nation drowning in excuses. If your life doesn't have structure, your potential will rot inside you like gold buried under rubble. People keep asking me, how do I find purpose? How do I become successful? But they don't want the real answer, because the real answer isn't flashy. It's not emotional. It's not inspirational. It's this: build a system, build order, build a routine. You want your life to be strong, but your days are weak. You want your future to be big, but your habits are small. That's the disconnect. People dream like kings, but they live like beggars, chaotic, scattered, undisciplined. Listen to me carefully. Your day is your dominion. It's the territory you've been given. And just like a wise king manages his land with laws and order, you must govern your time with structure and force. Because if you don't, something else will. Distraction will rule you. Anxiety will invade. Procrastination will poison your mind. A kingdom without structure is a kingdom that falls. And a man without routine is a man waiting for collapse. This is why your life feels unstable. You wake up with no strategy, no system, no law. You drift into your day like a man wandering into battle without armor, without a weapon, and without a plan. You hope for victory, but hope is not a strategy. The most powerful people in history didn't rely on emotion. They relied on rhythm, routine, repetition. Not because it was exciting, but because it was effective. You think success comes from motivation. No, it comes from command, from making your day so structured that even your laziness can't survive in it. Your routine must be built like a government. What time you wake up, that's law. What you eat, that's law. How long you work, how long you read, when you rest, what you consume, law, law, law. You can't rule over anything in life until you rule over yourself. And you can't rule over yourself until you master the structure of your time. Most people live in a democracy of distraction. They allow their phones, their emotions, other people's priorities, and random events to vote on how their day goes. That's not leadership. That's chaos disguised as freedom. Freedom without structure always leads to bondage. That's why I tell people, treat your day like territory that must be protected. Your time is a battlefield. And if you don't occupy it with purpose, the enemy will occupy it with noise. And let me be clear, the enemy is not just laziness. It's inconsistency, it's interruptions, it's that one notification that derails your momentum, that one conversation that drains your clarity. 1 hour of unguarded time can rob you of 2 days of progress. One broken routine can set you back a week. So when I say build a routine like a kingdom, I'm not talking about a to-do list. I'm talking about sovereignty. Ownership, discipline, so sharp it cuts through distraction like a sword. You must rise in the morning like a ruler, not a slave to your phone, not a victim of chaos, but a king in his domain. Structure is not punishment, it's protection. It's the wall that keeps your destiny safe from the noise of the world. It's the gate that filters out what doesn't serve your purpose. It's the sword that slices through the endless temptations pulling you into mediocrity. If you look at your life and feel stuck, don't ask for more motivation. Ask yourself, where is my routine weak? Where have I left the door open to distraction? Because nothing grows in confusion and nothing thrives in disorder. God is not the author of confusion. He blesses what is organized. He breathes on what is managed. He multiplies what is structured. If you want divine increase, you need human order. You need to treat your calendar like sacred ground. You need to stop allowing emotions to dictate your schedule. When a ruler builds a kingdom, he doesn't ask how he feels each morning. He enforces law. He demands consistency. He builds walls, defines roles, secures the borders. That's how you must treat your life. Every hour accounted for, every minute invested, every habit aligned with the throne you're building. Because without structure, you don't have a life, you have a storm. And no kingdom survives in a storm without order. Let the world chase excitement, you build order. Let them wait for the perfect moment, you build the perfect system. Because greatness is never an accident. It is always the result of structure, enforced by a ruler who refuses to let chaos win. You've been taught to run from pain, conditioned to avoid it, trained to numb it. But the truth is, pain is your greatest mentor. And until you learn how to sit with it, listen to it, and use it, you will remain weak, distracted, and unfit to lead. You cannot escape pain. It will visit your life whether you prepare for it or not. But the wise, the rulers, the builders of destiny, they choose their pain. They choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret, the pain of sacrifice over the pain of mediocrity, the pain of pressure over the pain of purposelessness. And you, yes, you felt both. You've tasted the guilt of quitting, the sting of wasted time, the weight of knowing you could have been further ahead if you had stayed focused. That's the pain of regret, and it's relentless. It whispers at night. It haunts your mornings. It buries your confidence. But there's another kind of pain, one that sharpens instead of shames, one that cuts in order to carve. That's the pain of progress, the kind that burns your comfort to build your crown. Do you think the world will hand you excellence without asking for something in return? You think you can inherit a throne without blood, without scars? No, every kingdom requires a war. And the first war is always internal, the war between the part of you that wants ease and the part of you that craves elevation. Pain is not your enemy. It's the price of admission to the next level of your life. People pray for purpose, but they're allergic to pressure. They ask for promotion, but run from preparation. They want the glory, but can't stomach the grind. So they stay stuck, not because they lack vision, but because they lack the pain tolerance required to bring that vision into reality. Pain is the fire that reveals what you're made of. When everything's easy, everyone looks strong. But when pressure comes, when it hurts, when it costs, when it demands your pride, your comfort, your distractions, that's when your true character is exposed. Not in how loud you speak, but in how deep you endure. Do you understand? You can't be trusted with power until you've proven you can suffer without surrendering. You must walk through the pain of isolation, the pain of being misunderstood, the pain of showing up when no one claps for you, because that pain builds internal weight, and weight is what gives your words authority. No one listens to a light weight in the war room, but a man who has suffered and still stands, that man commands the room without shouting. You want to be respected? Then suffer well. You want to be a leader? Then endure without complaint. You want to be remembered? Then bleed for your purpose, because people do not follow those who had it easy. They follow those who conquered the fire and came back refined. Don't run from pain, interrogate it. Ask it, why are you here? And it will answer, to stretch you, to humble you, to sharpen your edges, to prepare you for the weight of what you're about to carry. Because everything great is heavy, every crown is heavy, every vision has weight, and only pain can build the spine you need to carry it without collapsing. You think pain is there to punish you? No, it's there to purge you. Purge your laziness, purge your emotionalism, purge your need for validation, purge your dependence on comfort. That's why you must stop avoiding the hard things. Wake up early, say no when it hurts, train your body when it resists, read when your mind wanders, build when you're exhausted, because every act of chosen pain is a strike against weakness. Every repetition, every hour in solitude, every delayed gratification, those are your weapons. Pain is what separates the sheep from the lions, the comfortable from the called, the crowd from the crown. So no, I don't feel sorry for you if it's hard. I don't sympathize with your frustration, because that very frustration is the furnace of transformation. And if you escape it too early, you exit unprepared. If you numb it, you kill the lesson. If you quit, you stay small forever. Everybody wants to win, but very few want to be consistent. They pray for greatness, but refuse the grind. They talk big, but act small. And when you strip away all the noise, all the empty motivation and temporary excitement, the only thing left standing between the ordinary and the extraordinary is consistency. Consistency is not a motivational quote. It's not hype. It's not something you post on a Monday and forget by Tuesday. It is a weapon. It is a tool of war. And the wise, the rulers, the builders, the legacy makers, they use it like a sword, cutting through failure, boredom, fatigue, distraction, and doubt. Not once, not twice, but every single day. The foolish chase moments, the wise build systems, the weak chase moods, the wise trust discipline. And while the world is waiting for another perfect moment to act, the wise are already 5 steps ahead, because consistency doesn't ask for permission. It marches forward with or without applause. Let me make something very clear. You don't rise because of how much you know. You rise because of what you repeatedly do. You don't get rewarded for your intentions. You get rewarded for your execution. And execution requires consistency, especially when it's boring, especially when no one sees, especially when you don't feel like it. Anyone can show up once. That doesn't make you special. What makes you dangerous is the ability to show up over and over again, with focus, with purpose, with order, regardless of the weather, regardless of how you slept, regardless of who's watching. Do you know what consistency does? It makes you undeniable. The world can ignore talent. It can overlook passion, but it cannot ignore results. And results come to those who have mastered the rhythm of repetition. Over time, consistency breaks resistance. It wears down the enemy. It builds reputation. It earns trust. It compounds power. People who lack consistency will always overestimate talent and underestimate process. That's why they burn out. That's why they start 10 things and finish none. That's why they live in cycles, bursts of passion followed by valleys of regret. But those who live in rhythm, daily action, daily decisions, daily accountability, they don't need to announce themselves. Their life becomes the announcement. Consistency is how you multiply small efforts into unstoppable force. It's not what you do once a month that changes your life. It's what you do when you're tired, when it's raining, when you're confused, when you've been ignored, when you've been betrayed. If you can stay steady in those storms, you win. Not by flash, but by force. Quiet, relentless, intentional force. Do you want to know how nations were built? Not through one heroic day, but through generations of steady labor. Do you want to know how companies are built? Not through one viral moment, but through decades of systems, habits, trial and correction. Even your body, your health, your mind, your finances, they don't grow by one big push. They evolve through the microscopic power of daily choices. The average man overestimates what he can do in a day and underestimates what he can build in 5 years of unshakable consistency. The difference between a seed that flourishes and one that rots is not the weather, it's the discipline of daily watering. But here's the problem. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. Not because they're not capable, but because they don't see fast results. They treat consistency like a lottery ticket, expecting instant payoff. But it's not a lottery, it's a covenant. A commitment to keep doing what must be done until the fruit reveals itself. You cannot cheat consistency. You can't fake it. You're either building or decaying. There's no neutral ground. Every single day is a vote for your future, and if you don't cast that vote with discipline, the default of life, which is decline, will cast it for you. That's why consistency is not a game. It's not sexy. It's not thrilling. It's often lonely, repetitive, painfully ordinary. But it's in that ordinary that the extraordinary is born. It's in the unseen hours that real glory is forged. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and those systems are only as strong as your willingness to honor them daily. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop chasing novelty. Stop restarting every time you feel uninspired. The ones who build empires, they are not the most talented. They are the most consistent. And over time, that consistency becomes their advantage, their edge, their legacy. So now you know consistency is not a suggestion, it is a command. Discipline must sit on the throne, not emotion. Your routine must be enforced like law, not left to chance. Pain is not your enemy, it's your personal trainer, preparing you for the weight of greatness. And above all, consistency is the quiet assassin of mediocrity, the weapon of the wise, the path walked only by those who refuse to bow to comfort. This is not about trying harder, it's about becoming harder to stop. It's not about feeling ready, it's about being relentless. Because the world doesn't crown the most gifted, it crowns the most consistent. So don't just hear this message, go govern yourself. Force yourself to rise, force yourself to repeat, force yourself to be the ruler your future needs. Because in the end, your legacy will not be built by what you felt, but by what you did day after day, without excuse, without applause, without fail.